Welcome to Random Reviews. Today I'm going to be talking about the Springfield Hellcat, plus the Apex trigger and the PRP trigger in a bag kit. I'm also going to be talking about the Hyve Tech trigger and also the Hyve Tech magazine extension. So as I go through the video, you'll get an idea of why so many different triggers. So first off, I'm not going to go over all the specs of the Springfield Hellcat. Generally, it's a concealed carry gun. It's pretty thin, and it carries most amount of rounds for any other gun of its size. So just get a good view. It's a pretty nice looking gun. It's small, has that rear U instead of the two dots. There's not much else, to note about it. Trigger safety. One thing that kind of concerns me about this gun is just how thin it is. If you watch this, you get a lot of flex right there. I don't know how durable that is or is not, but that's a lot of flex right there. You also get some flex up here, and you also pretty much just all throughout the lower of the gun you get a lot of flex. Now, this isn't a gun where you're running around climbing fences, getting low to the ground. You carry it in the back, and you carry it on you. Like I carry it on my back, my lower back, so it's not getting beat up. So is that going to be an issue or not? I don't know. I don't think so. Potentially could be. Just have to watch. So I'm going to show you the original trigger. What's in right now is the Apex trigger. This right here is the original trigger. It also had it's pretty similar to the Apex trigger. It has that trigger safety. That's the only safety that it has. And it was difficult to shoot accurately with this trigger. So what it is I bought the Apex trigger plus the PRP trigger kit in a bag. And I would say this trigger is down to now about 3 pounds. I used to have I can't find my scale that actually measures trigger pull weight. However, it's about 3 pounds now. That also included me polishing a bunch of the internals. So the reason that I decided to switch to the Hyve Technologies trigger, personally, I don't care about flat trigger, curved trigger. A lot of people have very particular tendencies for those. Not me. I mean, maybe I like the curved trigger better because it hugs your finger as you're pulling it. I don't really notice it when I'm shooting. What bugs me about the Apex trigger is that the trigger safety always catches a little bit every single time. With the original trigger, that click wasn't there. It would you depress the trigger safety, it would go in, no clicking, it wouldn't rub, no problems. With the Apex trigger, I get caught here all the time, every single time. So why I think that's a big deal. I was doing some speed shooting on a friend's gun. His gun I had never shot before, had a trigger safety in it, and it just something I wasn't used to. I just pulled the gun out, went to shoot it, and the trigger safety was engaged, and I couldn't figure out the pressure to do and how to do the exact angle that it wanted. It was just a foreign gun to me, and it caught on that trigger safety because I wasn't doing it right. And just the amount of catch that has right there is not just acceptable to me. It shouldn't do that. If I pull it forward and then go to shoot, it goes in, but any subsequent trigger pulls, it catches. So that's why I'm switching. I'm gonna try this, the Hyve Tech trigger, their Monarch trigger. And one thing that really sold me on that was this little statement right there in their instructions. It's also on their website. You can set the pre-travel adjustment. So you, instead of the trigger, it's gonna have less travel. The thing though is that they put that in their website. They put that at the very end of everything they have to say about their trigger. If I was them, I would start with that instead of end with it, because I almost didn't even read that last sentence where they mention it. So that's the triggers. This is the Hyve Tech mag extension, and I'm showing it next to, so I put that on my 11 round magazine because it makes the 11 round magazine a 14 round magazine instead of the 13 round magazine. So if I put it on the 13 round magazine, I'd have a 14 round magazine and 11. Now I have a 14 round magazine and a 13 round magazine. So I felt like that was the better option. And so the way that they do that is just by the Springfield, the original stuff, the original magazines just have a smaller end cap at the bottom. The metal is the same size, exact same size. Just this end cap. And now, so this, I'm going to show you, try to give you a good view of how that Hyve Tech end cap is bigger in some ways, but smaller in other areas. You can see right there, Hyve Tech's a little bit smaller in the back, but then a little bit bigger in the front. It's really, they gain that +1 or +3, depending on which one you put it in, pretty well. And with either of these magazines, I can stick the gun inside my pocket on any pair of shorts or pants, and it completely is completely concealed. Of course, it imprints a lot, but if I put it in a pocket, front pocket I'm talking about. So it's a small gun, and even with these magazines, it's still pretty small for carrying 14 round magazines, 14 rounds. So that's that short, quick comparison. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to, I almost forgot this little thing. I forget who I bought this, what website I bought this from. Some website online. It just snaps over the trigger. that goes in the belt. So you can get it for inside the waistband, outside, left or right. So that, or front or back. So this is, I put it in my back. That goes in the belt. It's pretty nice. Very, very concealable. Only complaint on a sweaty day, the gun's covered in sweat instead of having a holster barrier with, making a barrier between your sweat and the gun. So only complaint. I guess also, if you were shooting the gun, then put it back in this holster, it's going to burn your skin a little bit. But I don't see why anyone would have that specific issue. So I'm going to install the Hyve Tech trigger and come back and show how it, see if it improves or not. The other thing is, I'll show you, the trigger pull is so short now. See, I'm having trouble even pulling that trigger. So hit the wall there. And then it's just really, really light, smooth, and short. But I'm going to see how this this Hyve Tech trigger does when I come back. All right, so I have the Apex trigger here and the Hyve Tech trigger here. First thing I notice is the Hyve Tech trigger feels a lot more I want to say, it just feels better. It feels like it's better quality. The Apex trigger, the trigger safety is plastic. The Hyve Tech, it's metal. The Hyve Tech just looks a little more substantial. Got all that stuff, cut out of that. The Hyve Tech trigger just feels more solid. The trigger safety is a lot more firm. Not sure if that's good or bad. We'll see once I start pulling the trigger. It's definitely a lot more firm though. Yeah, like easily depressed here, and you have to apply some pressure here. So hopefully that doesn't get in the way of it releasing that safety. But to me, the Hyve Tech trigger does seem better quality. But that doesn't really matter unless it actually works and feels good. All right, I got the Hyve Tech trigger installed. I'm just going to go over real quick the disassemble and reassemble and all the steps. It's pretty quick, pretty simple. I'm going to go through it just to show you. And then I'll talk about the trigger. So first step, knock the slide to the rear. Push that up. I'm trying to show this to you. Slide forward, pull the trigger, pull the slide off. Twist that out. Then you have these 3 pins, one there, there, and there. You don't even really need a hammer, just give a little bit of tap. Pull them all the way out. Now, pull this piece out that silver pin can fall out, so be careful. Next, pull slide release. This is your trigger assembly. So you have to turn that Allen key and that Allen key in order to adjust this trigger. So that comes out and that comes out. Completely stripped. Put this piece back in first. Upside down. That goes, put the trigger in, slide the trigger in, and then push this down in. Slide release. This has 2 slots and those grooves that go in them. Slide down. Something's in the way. There we go. And then take the fat pin, get your punch, get everything lined up, stick the punch through. Normally just hand strength, but of course I'm doing it on the camera so it's not working. There we go. This normally goes in, this pin normally goes in pretty easily. And the last pin, I mix those up. This pin goes in second. You notice in the middle there's no groove there. And then the last pin has a groove in the middle. All right, all the pins are in. Oh, I forgot. You kind of have to like twist this one a little bit to get it to go in. You may have to push the silver piece that's in there. You'll see it in the back. Push it back. Lock the slide to the rear. Flip that down. Release the slide. So the Monarch trigger is really finicky trying to adjust it. You have to pull a gun apart just to adjust it. So I had to keep on, adjusting it a little bit, pull it apart, adjust it a little bit, pull it apart, adjust it a little bit, pull it apart. But the slack in the trigger is almost all gone. That's all before it's basically right at the wall where you start feeling the tension before the pin is released. That is really short trigger pull compared to what it was before. Now here's the reset. Just that initial trigger pull again. It's already at that wall where you're feeling the tension. Here's the reset. I could even probably adjust the reset some more, although I don't feel like pulling it apart again. I had it adjusted too much where it almost did not reset. So I had to take it apart, adjust it just a tiny bit to get it to reset properly. So that's where I'm at now. This trigger feels a lot better. It's thicker. The whole thing is made of metal. The Apex trigger, I feel, is a little cheaper. Like I said earlier, I'm not going to say it again. And I think that's, I hope that answers all your questions, all the questions you had about comparison between the Apex Monarch and Monarch trigger, I guess, and the original trigger, which is pretty much worthless. Oh, one thing I want to note, I'm not getting that click anymore that I was getting with the Apex trigger. That trigger safety is not catching on the edge at all. Not a single time, unless of course you're not pushing it right, but if you're just pulling the trigger, but it's going in every single time. And that's the end of the video. Pretty straightforward and raw, so that's it. All right, one more thing. I didn't show what it looks like with the Apex, the Hyve Tech magazine extension in the gun. So there it is. It's pretty similar. I'm going to switch it out, put the standard 13 round magazine so you can see the difference. I saw a company online that sells different base plates, and I think I might get one that's a little bit, my finger's almost coming off right there, but I saw one online that has a lip that kind of shoots out. I might get that, maybe not. But that the Hyve Tech magazine extension gives me full grip on my pinky. You can see there that my pinky's almost coming off, which I don't think I'd even notice it unless I'm looking at it. And there's the Hyve Tech.